Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 18 of the Realtor Nation Podcast. My name is Ian Hoover, and I am the host of the show, and I'm very excited to bring to you the Realtor Nation, a show to help you improve your business. I'm very excited about this show. I say that every time, I know, but this time I'm really super excited. We have Gigi Barnett coming on the show. I've never met her before. She's got over 20 years of anchor experience for news anchors, and she's going to teach us about PR and probably get into a little marketing as well. So without further ado, we're going to be bringing her on. All right, and let's welcome in Gigi. Hi, Gigi. How are you today?
Hi, Ian. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for taking the time out of your day in the middle of moving.
Yeah, that's not a hassle. You're excellent. The move, though.
Yeah. We were just talking about how much I hate moving.
It's a lot. And this is my office too. So, if it looks bare, that's because it is. So we're getting it up.
Understandable. Well, let's start here. Tell me about your journey. What got you to the point of where you're at now, starting your company?
Okay. Well, by heart and by trade, I'm a reporter, right? I'll tell you, Ian, I spent almost 22 years working in the media. I started off as a print reporter at the Miami Herald, and then I went over into television. I worked at several TV news stations across the country, even had a stint in Dublin, Ireland. My last stop was in Austin, Texas, where I ate a lot of barbecue and had a lot of fun in Austin, Texas. And I had two kids along the way, got married to a man in the Navy, had two kids along the way, and I realized that, the pace and the time frame of news, it does not work for someone who really wants to focus on their family. It can be brutal. And I started looking at, okay, so what do I have to offer? And I realized, I'm a storyteller, right? I realized over the years, reporting on the streets, doing live stories, working in a studio and meeting people in the studio, that people would always ask me, hey, Gigi, how do I get my business, my brand on TV or in the media? And back then as a reporter, I've got a story to tell. I've got work to do. I don't have time to stop and tell you about publicity and how to get in contact with someone like me. So I would only give them two options. I would say you need to either go and hire a PR firm. PR firm can cost anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000. Those are the small ones, $5,000 and $10,000 a month. Mm-hmm. Or you can do it yourself. Sometimes I would say, why don't you just email the news desk? Just email my producer. Just email this person. What? How do you know what my producer wants, right? How do you know if it's going to get to the right person? How do you know if what you're pitching, your stories, are what they want? People don't know. So they're kind of blind in the dark trying to figure it out. And then I thought, you know what? What if I could give people a service where they're not spending $5,000 to $10,000 a month at least on retainer fees that don't guarantee you any media coverage. And if they had a guide, an insider who can show them, do this, don't do this, let's pitch this, don't pitch this, send it to this person, not that person. If they had a guide who has worked in the media for 20 years to show them exactly what to do, well, wouldn't they get so much more coverage, and they can do it on their own, and I can show them how to do it whenever they want. So now you become your own publicist by linking up with someone like me who can show you how to do something, or how to pitch your story ideas. And that was when I came up with the idea of story sell your brand. I'm a storyteller. So to me, the best way to sell something, whether it's an idea or a product, is through stories. And who loves stories the most? The media, reporters, producers, editors. They want great stories. And so that's how I came up with it. That's my journey.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I even ever had PR stuck in my head. I read books, right? And I was reading a book from Barbara Corcoran.
Okay.
And she talks about how her real estate brokerage is on the brink of collapse, and she needed something. And she literally just wrote a little one-page report saying, called it the Corcoran Report, and mailed it to the New York Times. and they published the Corcoran report. She said that like all the statistics in there were based off her like 14 transactions just divided up, so they weren't realistic. They weren't good. And they just posted her, and then she just kept doing that. She kept sending in the Corcoran report, and that kind of took off her company. So PR definitely can add value to a business. Then here's me. I have no idea what I'm doing, right? So we talked a little bit about this before we started recording. Right. From a real estate agent standpoint, what do you feel like you or a PR person can do to add value to a real estate professional?
Okay, so here's the thing with real estate agents. I specialize in local news. I do have national news contacts. But my specialty, my sweet spot, my strong suit is local news. I know how it works. I know it like the back of my hand because I worked in it so much. And so who needs local news the most? A real estate agent. Why? Because if you think about it, you're based in Pittsburgh, right? You're not selling homes in San Diego.
No.
Where are you selling homes? Where are you selling property? It's in Pittsburgh, right? Yeah. And you need to dominate that area. And the best way to dominate that area and to set yourself up as an expert in the Pittsburgh real estate market is to do it through that local news. Now, would it be great if you got on a national news show, if you got on? Absolutely. Would I ever tell you to turn that down? Never in a million years. But what I would say is the best path to that national news exposure is through local news, because what those producers at the top of the national news field are looking at, they're looking at what's happening in the smaller markets. They're looking at what's happening in Pittsburgh. Who's the movers and the shakers? Where are the big stories coming out of Pittsburgh? And guess who they happen to see? If you're dominating that news area, they're going to see Ian, right? And they're going to be like, who's this guy? They're going to want to know more about you. You have a really good opportunity to move up. Plus, the people in that area know, if I want to sell a house, if I want to buy a house, I need to go to Ian, because I've seen him on channel, you name it. I've seen him in the newspaper. I've seen him. And here's the other thing. It's not an ad. That when it's not an ad and you get that third party credibility, that backing from a news station, from a news paper, from even a magazine, a local magazine, you are standing on their credibility, because what that's saying is a reporter like me, I've talked to Ian. I have vetted him. I've looked in his background. This guy is the real deal. So when you get on and you have that logo next to your name, or you have, you can say that you've been featured in their Metropolitan Daily, that adds a dose of celebrity, a dose of credibility and authority to what you have to say. So when you mentioned Barbara Corcoran, and she typed up out from 14 clients and she sent it was the New York Times. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that she was sending it to them and she had to prove herself. It was that the New York Times had looked into what she was saying, and the New York Times had backed her up, and now everybody listens. So you kind of, when you get in the media, you borrow their credibility, their authority, and you make it your own. Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense. Now, obviously I'm kind of on a little bit different level. I'm a real estate broker. For a standard real estate agent, like for instance, in my general area, the Pittsburgh area, we have about 7,500 agents in the area. So how would one person separate themselves from the competition?
Well, have you seen your competition on the news?
No, I don't think so.
No, you haven't.
I don't watch the news very often, though. So I mean, maybe.
Well, it's you don't have to, because here's the thing: if they got on, right, and they did it right, because what you do is you get on, and then you post it everywhere.
Right.
So you don't have to necessarily watch the news to prove that you've been on.
Right.
Right. That's how you maximize it. So okay, you get on. And then you post it, you tell everybody, I'm going to be on. I'm just using, I don't know the Pittsburgh market that well. But yes, I do. WDKA, I'll use them. WDKA. So let's say I have no idea. Fox. 50, okay. Let's say you get on WTV News, right? And you're on their morning show, and they bring you on as an expert to talk about the latest trends in the housing market. Now, just because you're a broker doesn't mean you can't talk about real estate, right? In fact, you can talk about it more. So they bring you on and they say, okay, Ian, what are the hot spots? What are the hot areas? What are your clients looking for nowadays? What What do buyers not want? What's the best way to help them avoid, falling into escrow or whatever the case may be? So you have that topic that you're appearing on. What you're going to do before you get on is you're going to tell the world through your social media channels, I'm going to be on. Watch me. Right now, they're going to do some advertising too of that. And then once you get on, you're taking pictures while you're there, you're tweeting out, you're Instagramming out, you're doing all that stuff, right? And if you're not, bring somebody along, just have them do it for you. Like, I don't know, your significant other or your kids. Sure. Bring them on. When you're done, you're going to put that on your Facebook. You're going to put that on your any page. All your pages,
LinkedIn,
you're getting it out. You're getting it out, right? Because who's watching those pages? I guarantee you, your competition is as well. Yep. I guarantee you, your clients, your current clients, and your prospective clients. That's the key. Your prospective clients are seeing that. So now they see you in the role of someone with authority, someone with essentially this patina of celebrity to your name. So now they're thinking, okay, so your competition is thinking, how'd that guy get on there? How'd he get on there? They want to know what you're doing and they want to follow suit, but you're already, just by being on, 5 steps ahead. Once you do that, there's also several things that you should do once you get on, and that's just keeping in contact. And I show my clients how to keep in contact with the people they meet so they can build a relationship with those producers, with those editors. So now you're being featured time and time again. So that's how you set yourself apart from the jump, is that the competition isn't on, you are. And so you maximize that to the hilt.
So as an agent or a broker, whoever you are, obviously this sounds great to anybody, I'm sure, who would be listening. So what's the process look like? I'm going to contact Gigi because she's the rock star who's going to get us in there. But like for me, I'm just going to be honest with you. My biggest problem is time, right?
Say it again. It's time.
Time is my biggest issue, right? So I contact you. I saw on your website you have a 30-minute consultation, right? And then I'm going to tell you, writing my story is going to take too much time. What's your response? I mean, I'm just not a good client for you.
No, my response is no, it's not going to take too much time. And if it's taking, it's just not, it's not. And if it's going to take too much time, then you're probably overthinking it. Honestly, you're overthinking it.
Or I have my marketing guy that knows stuff better than me. I can have him write it.
Get somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're if you're taking too much time, you're overthinking it. Now, listen, I get it. In my business, I pitch myself to the media. I pitch my business to the media all the time. It takes me 30 minutes. I know what I'm doing, right? And I can do that. I can do different types of media throughout the course of the day. But for somebody who's just starting out, it's the planning piece that you really need to focus on the most, because the planning piece is going to tell you where to go. I have a 5-step method that I use, and it's actually based on, it's called PITCH. It's an acronym PITCH. You need to plan, you need to get intel, you need to basically start typing, and sometimes I use templates with my clients, but you need to start typing, and then you're going to craft. So most people, they'll write for days, and it's just like, you're writing too much. Or they think that, that the producer or the editor needs so much. They don't. Remember, they don't have a lot of time. I've sent pitches that were 2 sentences and gotten responses. So they don't, once they know what the story is about, once they know what you want, why you want to get on, and they like it, and it's for their audience, it's good. And then finally, so you want to craft. You want to craft with clarity. You want to craft with color, and you want to be concise. And then finally, it's H, and I say hit send. When H is where I find the most people start getting nervous. They start bungling things. They start kind of backpedaling, because when you hit send, right? I say hit send and halt the horror. There's a possibility. It's a great possibility, especially if you have a killer pitch, they're going to call you back. They are going to get in contact with you. You've got to be ready for that. And so I help my clients get ready for that interview. So what that could be anything from media training all the way to what are we going to say in the interview? Here's what to say to a reporter. Here's what not to say to a reporter. So we do many simulations, getting them ready. And sometimes it's just print, and so they have to know the setup is they're not going to bring a camera into your office. They're going to talk to you over the phone. So it's different methods. But so that's the way that's what I tell my clients, or that's what I show them how to do. Back to your question where you say, spending too much time. What we do is I break that up. And so where you're going to spend the most time is going to be pitch or your planning with purpose. That's going to take a little bit of time, because you need to sit down and figure out, okay, what are the story ideas that are hidden in my business that, it's hard for me to come up with. And the other piece is, where is my audience? Right? Finding who to pitch to based on the audience's need to align. If you work in, I'm using this as an example. If you're a chef, you're probably not going to be pitching to a Condé Nast, right? Unless you're like a chef on wheels. You know what I mean?
You're speaking a different language. I don't even know what a Condé Nast is.
Okay. If you're to like a car magazine.
There you go. You're speaking my language now.
Right. You're probably not, unless, like you're cooking in, I don't know, a food truck. I don't know, but you're probably not going to. You're going to pitch the Food Network. You're going to pitch to a weekend morning show, and they have a guest segment on there who will show you how to craft healthy meals for kids, something like that. So you need to make sure that the audience that your audience is their audience. That's what I tell my clients. And so all you're going to do is, in that 5-step process, is each day, and however long you want to take it, maybe a week, each day for 30 minutes, you're going to sit down, you're going to brainstorm. Okay, here are my story ideas. Here are the trends that I'm seeing. Here's my noteworthy appeal. This is what makes me different. This is why this story is unique. Here's what this story means for their audience and for this area that I'm pitching in. And once you get that, you walk away. You've done the first step. Done. The next step, you're going to be intel. Who do I send this story idea to? It should be this particular magazine or this particular news show, and then you need to find out who is the producer or the editor. They hide their names in plain sight. It is very easy for you to find out who the producer of a morning show is, or who an editor is for a magazine that you want to be featured in. It's clearly written on online, and I show my clients exactly how to find it in 5 minutes. And then once you figure out who those people are, and then you start the next day. We're going to take those story ideas that we picked the first day, and we're going to start writing them out. And we're going to use this template. We're going to write it out. This is the way we should do it. This is what they're looking for. If you're going to do a news for television news, they want it's visual. Right? If you're going to go on television and you're a chef, you need to bring on some menu ideas. You need to bring some plates. You need to bring some food. They want to see what it looks like, because television is visual. For a podcast, for instance, I'm showing you food right now. It won't really work, will it? No, it won't.
Well, maybe if you're on YouTube.
On the video piece. Right, unless you're on the video piece. But for radio, not going to work at all. For print, they might say, can we take pictures of it? Okay. Typically, they're probably not going to want to do that. So you have to know what to give them. It's that bait, right? If you're going out to catch a particular fish, you have to have the right bait. And so if you're going to catch a radio fish, you're not going to give them print bait. You understand what I mean?
I get right. Now, what do you feel with your expertise? What do you feel is the best type of promotion network to get on? Do you think it's print? Do you think it's radio? Do you think it's...
Two things. It depends. It depends on, first, your strengths. What are your strengths that are going to get you on quickly? And I don't mean quickly, but I mean, that's going to help you shine the fastest, is the way I want to say that. If you are a stronger writer, I'm not going to put you on TV. just let's hold off on, right. Let's hold off on that for a minute. Let's do some media training. Let's get you TV ready. And then we'll start talking about television. That doesn't mean that's not going to be part of our plan. It very well may be. But if you are a strong, I have clients all the time and they say to me, Gigi, I'm so much better at speaking my message, and just sitting down and writing just bores me and I don't want to do it. You know what I say to them? We're not going to do print. and if we do print, we're going to pitch it to a reporter who's going to interview you. So you're talking to that reporter, and then they will go and write up the story. So that's the first thing is what are my strengths? The second thing is your message and your goal. So let's say your message is that you have an event coming up. The best thing that I find for events is television. Television is great for events because it's immediate, it's fast. You can say our event is coming up this Saturday. It's between 9 and noon. We'll see you there. As opposed to print. Print is okay for events, but I find that people don't really go to print for events nowadays. So you got to figure out, what's your message? What do you want to say? What do you want to tell your audience? And that's really kind of what I look at, is your message and your goal. The other piece is, there are two goals and that two benefits that the media gives you. People think that the media is lead generation. The media is not lead generation. And I cannot stress that enough. And if people walk away knowing one thing from this interview right now today, Ian, is that do not use media as lead gen. It is not for that. If you go into thinking, I'm going to be on this TV show so I can get, 10 extra clients, you're going to be, it's just, if you don't reach that, and you're going to be upset, you're going to be like, okay, why didn't I get 10 clients from this? Because that's not what it's for. Right. Television is to get you visibility. That's exposure of your brand, exposure of who you are. And it's to give you credibility, which is the authority, which is the celebrity. So back to the Barbara Corcoran situation, or when she wrote to the New York Times. You said her business was floundering. She needed that visibility. People needed to see her. The Corcoran report actually sounds quite prestigious, doesn't it?
It does. Absolutely.
Came up with that, right? So the Corcoran report is featured in the New York Times. So now she gets visibility from a major metropolitan national daily newspaper, and she gets credibility. So people are going to want to know, who's behind the Corcoran report? Who's behind the Corcoran report? So now they're going to start digging and finding her. And that's where you get your leads. It's a side effect. Mm-hmm. So visibility plus celebrity or authority can be a side effect. Then you can get the lead gen. But don't go into it thinking, I'm doing this just to get clients. And so your message and your goal, that's going to help you also decide which path to take in terms of which medium you should get on. So your strengths, your message, and your goal.
Okay, so you kind of cater it to your specific client, essentially. Going back to what we were talking about, so you have a 5-step process. It sounds like that from what you said, the clients most of the time have trouble with the last step, which is hitting send. I'm the complete opposite. I'll just hit send before that thing's even ready. So, so at what point do you have to slow down? I'm assuming you have to slow somebody like me down. Like, okay, let's
pump the brakes here. Right.
There's 10 grammatical errors in what we're about to send,
Right. Right.
Okay.
So on the front end and the back end, if it's not a pitch that they want, if it's not a pitch that's well crafted, that is for the target intended audience, which you're aligned with that particular medium. If you have mistakes, and it can be mistakes as simply, how do I reach back out to you? How can I find you? Okay, you sent me this message, but how do I, and if I'm just clicking return, how can I call you? You don't include your phone number on there. So it can be simple mistakes like that, all the way to the fear of, okay, I'm afraid to hit send. So the way I just have you dial it back is I say to you, hey, listen, you're going to get the same response, the same effect of when you send this pitch as if you did not send it at all. There's going to be crickets. So so on the front end, if you don't work on it, and you send it, you're going to get crickets. On the back end, if you work on it and it's a beautifully crafted pitch and you don't send it, they're going to be crickets. So do you want crickets or do you want a response? So that's how I kind of tell people to pump the brakes, is that we want to get a response. We want to have a dialogue. We want to get that producer, that editor writing us back, contacting us saying, hey, tell me more. I want to hear more. How can I book you? When can you get on? And the only way to do it really is to go through those steps and make sure. And like I said, it doesn't take a long time, but just make sure that you're doing it well, that it's well thought out, and that you have the intended audience in top of mind, and that you have the right person in terms of producer to pitch it to top of mind. And yeah, you crickets, I think, is probably the worst response. Getting a response back saying, I like this, but I can't run it today, or I like this, but can we do it next week? All of those are great responses, right? Because we can run this an evergreen piece next week for sure. Or can you do it tomorrow instead of today? Those are all great responses. Crickets, the worst.
I've had the crickets. We've talked about this. I just get crickets. I need your help, clearly. Okay, so moving forward, what type of content is the best to start with? I mean, like, for instance, my brokerage is going to be the first and hopefully only brokerage in Pittsburgh that's doing an iBuyer platform. My brokerage is also going to be doing some guarantees here soon. So should you try and get something like that in front of the media, or should it be more like charitable? Should it be like, what's the best content to get in front of people?
The best content is going to be, so what I like to use, and this is actually my favorite part, because this is the brainstorming that I like to work with on my clients. And every station and every outlet, they have what's called typically in the morning, and they'll do one in the afternoon, a morning meeting or a news meeting. And this is where they go over all the story ideas of the day, and they look at them from every angle. How do we cover this? Who's it going to affect? And that's the exact process that I like to take my clients through, so that when their story idea pops up in a news meeting, it passes the test. And that's really the benefit that a news insider is going to be able to bring, is that you want your story to pass the test when it's in that news meeting. And so the best stories to me are, I do like evergreen pieces, right? Because you can find several different angles from them. So let's take if you don't mind, I don't want to give you all your great ideas away, but you said it was the I.
Yes, iBuyer. So in certain markets of the country, there's companies like Zillow and Open Door doing what's called an iBuyer, where you can, almost like trading in a car, you can go to this website, plug in some information, and get like an instant offer on your house, essentially. So my partner and I, we buy anywhere from 3 to 10 properties a month combined. So we kind of have the capabilities of doing this. So we're working on trying to work through the kinks and roll something like that out to Pittsburgh. We're going to be one of the first ones to do that. So
that's awesome.
We first want to do that in Pittsburgh, unless somebody takes it from this and gets to it before me, but whatever.
So essentially it cuts down on the time of a buyer selling their house, right?
Correct. Yeah. So they can literally go and plug in some information and close in as early as 2 weeks, with a cash offer. Now, it's similar to trading in a car. You're going to get, a lower value than if you were to put it on the market. But it's, hey, I need to move quick, and I just want to sell this like that, not have to deal with any real estate agents, whatever. That's essentially there's a lot more nuts and bolts that go into it, but that's something that we're going to be bringing to the marketplace here in Pittsburgh.
And can you articulate quickly, what does that mean what would that mean for Pittsburgh in general, overall? Or does that mean they're going to see fewer homes on the market? What does that mean?
Well, I don't think, it'll be fewer homes, because our intention is probably not going to be to hold those properties long-term, unless it's a very specific niche property that we want to hold long-term. So more than likely, those properties will either get rehabbed and put back on the market, or just turned around and put back on the market. We'll take the 6-month hit to sell your house or whatever the deal is, and make a little bit of profit on that transaction. And then, of course, it's going to feed, listings to our agents and, the whole 9 yards. So It's definitely not going to be less. It's just going to be another option and probably a more convenient option if you have the equity in your house and you're willing to just walk away.
One more question. For buyers, what does it mean?
For buyers, it probably isn't that great for home buyers, per se, because it's still going to be similar inventory, so I don't know if there's going to be a huge benefit to a buyer. It's just going to be more of a seller.
Okay, but so you're helping the homeowner do what they need to do, get where they want to go quicker.
Correct. Like, let's say, for instance, when you sold your last house, right? I'm going to assume you owned where you were in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So
correct.
You hired a real estate agent.
We
put it
did.
on the market. Even if it's sold quick, you're still at that point. You're still going to have to deal with inspection and financing, and it's going to take 45 to 60 days probably to close that transaction. When you could have gone to an iBuyer, if there was one in that area. I don't know if there is one in Austin, but you could go to an iBuyer who's going to literally just give you cash and close in 2 weeks, and you can be to wherever you move now. I didn't ask where you move now, but.
Yeah, we're out in California. Okay, so two great story ideas that I hear coming out from that, and that is, well, there are three things. You want to look at trends. You want to look at timing. So trends would be, this is a trend. iBuyer is a trend, right? More
Absolutely.
people are catching on to this. And here's the thing: we are at the time of shooting this particular interview. We are we're in summer now, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And this,
full-blown summer.
Yeah, this summer is like the big home selling season, right? So you got trends, you've got timing on there, and then you have what I call like to piggyback on the news. So this can be a national piece that you're localizing. One way to take a story and bring it local is saying iBuyer is happening all around the country, and here's the guy that's going to bring it to Pittsburgh. So you got trends, which is, this is something that's going to help sellers out right away. Plus, at the time that they're buying, they want to know about this because folks are selling homes now. And here's the guy that's going to bring it to them. So you combine those three elements, which is you're going to localize national news at the right time. Right, we're in summer when people are really looking at, how do I sell? How do I sell? How do I sell? And this is a hot trend. So you're going to pitch that to your local news stations, to your print. I would even do the local realtor magazines there as well too, because I'm sure they're looking for local Pittsburgh story ideas, and let it go. Also, don't forget the news stations for radio. There are a handful in each market, handful in each city. They're usually now more so on the AM dial.
Yep.
But people listen. Yeah, people listen to those, pitch them to those as well. So that's a great story idea. And you've got all three elements. I show people how to just use one of those elements to get a great story idea. You've got all three. You've got the trend, you've got the time, and you're piggybacking on a national trend and bringing it local. That's I would start crafting that and pitching it today. But just what we just did just then, how we brainstormed on this story idea, we would just test it. Is it a great trend? Does it fit up to the timing? What about localizing national news, piggybacking on the news? Do those elements all flow and function in this story idea? If we say yes to as many as possible, that's a great story idea. Let's start working with this one. Let's start pitching it. And that's exactly what I just did with you, is what I teach my clients to go through. Look for the trends. Look for the timing. Can you piggyback on the news? If you can answer those questions, and if you say yes to all three or even a couple of them, I would say start crafting that pitch. So here's the time now if you're working with me in our session, where we would say, okay, who do we want to send it to? Ian's really good at speaking. He has a podcast. Let's send this to one of the local morning shows. Let's get him as an expert on housing trends on one of the local morning shows. So now we'd start finding that producer. That the producer is John Allen. I'm making up the names, right? John Allen at yourtvstation.com. We would start crafting that pitch, and we would just send it right to him. Hey, John. Now here's the other thing that I like about local news. If you think about it, how many TV stations do you have there?
Yeah, 4.
Some areas have 5, right? 4 TV stations. You can dominate those, right? You're not looking at TV stations all across the country and 4 times how many cities there are in America and the US. You're only looking at working at 4 different TV stations. Some people have cable access. I would include those on the list. I know in Austin, we had a cable TV station. That was 5. That's only 5. If you're looking at here in I live in the SoCal in Southern California. So I'm in a really sweet spot here because there's San Diego, and then an hour north of me, hour and a half north of me is LA. I can take advantage of 8 TV stations. And one of those markets is Los Angeles, which is the second largest TV station or TV market in the country. So look at where you are. I have a client right now. She is based in Washington, D.C., which is another sweet spot. She drives 45 minutes north and she takes advantage of the Baltimore market. She drives another hour north and she takes advantage of the Philly market. She drives, a few hours south and she's in Norfolk. So she can just like that whole coast there, that whole mid-Atlantic coast, she can just take control of that. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So, but I would say that local market, this is why it's also not going to take you a long time, because there are only 4 TV stations. There's only a handful of radio stations. And then once you dominate that, if you so choose, then just start, working out. Realtors may not need to do that because, as I mentioned before, being on your local news is really going to set you up beautifully to set yourself apart from your competition. Your competition is not in San Diego. Your competition is not in Chicago. Your competition is right there in Pittsburgh.
Right. And you're probably not going to want to drive 4 hours to Philadelphia to sell a house. So
No. And if you are, it better be a great house.
I really want nothing to do with Philadelphia, to be honest with you. I'm a Cowboys fan. It's just bad. It's bad to do all the way around. All right, so I'm going to ask you a few questions that I kind of ask everybody that comes on my show, and then we're going to get into the blitz round, which is a little quicker on the questions. But how do you balance work and life? Sounds like you starting your business is kind of helping you balance work and life, but that's kind of a reverse criteria for normal work-life balance.
How do I balance it? I'm honestly, really, to tell you the truth, how I balance it as you look at my half decorated office with 2 kids. The way I balance it, Ian, is just taking time and, and just no matter what, I don't know what your faith is. But just, it's prayer, it's relaxation, it's meditation. It's really just kind of saying, breathe. I have because I work, after working in TV news, my mind can go all over the place, covering all kinds of crazy stories, over the years. I can think of some pretty bad stuff that never happened, so I had to tell a lot of my clients too, it's just like, breathe. Everything is going to work out. Okay, fine. We didn't get that particular station or that show. Don't worry. There's going to be a slew of media coming down the pipe for you, because I'm a true believer. And once you start focusing on something, it starts coming at you, right? It starts coming at you, and media just starts landing in your lap because you're focused on what it is that you want and you're headed in that direction. And before you know it, it's coming towards you too. I find that to be the case in my business and in my clients. I don't sweat the small stuff. So that's what helps me balance, is just saying, okay, Gigi, breathe. All right. Breathe.
Oxygen is good. I tell my agents the same thing. Like they call me a sales blowing up, and it's like, hey guys, it's not the first sale in the world that's ever blown up, and then let's try and find a way to fix it so that it doesn't blow up. And let's it's not the end of the world.
Right. I have had I've had faux and in front of live audiences. Thousands of people watching me trying to tap dance on TV, because the tape isn't working, or if you breathe, if you breathe through it, you'll get through it,
So who was your mentor and how did they help you?
Who was my mentor? I have a good friend of mine. She's amazing. But honestly, so she worked in television as well. But she is no longer in television. She has her own business too. She does publicity, but she has a small a boutique agency. And while I didn't start off on this path thinking, okay, I'm going to be just like her, it wasn't like that. But she's poured into my life so much, not just as now a business owner, but as someone who's worked in the industry of television, who is, you know, a wife and a mom. And I just saw her, and she just has this, she has this life motto that if she thinks of doing it, she's just like, I'm going to do it. And her focus is laser focus. And she'll say that I don't care who's on board with me right now at this point. Before it's over, everybody's going to be on board with me here. You know, she just has that kind of confidence, and she's just amazing. And so I just kind of modeling her and seeing how she lives life has really been an inspiration to me.
Very cool. Yeah, mentors are important. Somebody to keep you on track. Somebody who you can learn from. My partner is actually my mentor, so it's been been great that I've been able to become his partner over the years. And I'm blessed, to say the least. So, okay, this one should be good. This is one of my favorite questions I ask, and with your background, I'm very intrigued. What is the funniest story from your career?
Oh gosh.
Putting you on the spot, Gigi.
I mean, like, I've got 5 of them. It's like, no, I can't say that. No, I can't say that.
You can say whatever you want. There's no children listening to this show.
So the funniest story from my career, because I've had a longer television career, right, is probably I did this high wire act. This is, oh gosh, Ian, this is years ago. I'm going to say maybe 2003, 2004, a long time ago. But I did this high wire act. And speaking of being on live television, I'm the circus had come to town, or I guess it was a circus. And they were like, Gigi, what we want you to do is we want you to do a live shot. So go live. And we want you to be on the
I can see where this is going.
You know, the trapeze?
Yes.
They're like, get up on the trapeze. And I'm like, the things that they have reporters do is crazy. Get on the trapeze. And, you know, this was like a weekend morning show. So people want to see light and fun, entertaining, right? Get on the trapeze, and I am petrified. And you have in television, for those who've been on TV, you have a microphone, right? A lavalier microphone, and it's attached to your either lapel or your shirt. So I had no pockets that day on the pants that I was wearing. And my producer is like, yes, I want you to get up there. You have to do it. So I was like, okay, I guess I better go get on the trapeze. So here I am swinging on the trapeze, and in the live, it was just me doing what was called a tease. That's where we say, I'm Gigi Barnett. Coming up, I'm going to show you how and why I got on this trapeze. All the details straight ahead when our show returns, right? And I'm on the trapeze, and the mic falls. I'm like I'm in the air, and you know how you're kind of upside down and you're hanging on with your knees, you know, like you're I can't even describe it. I wasn't hanging on like this. I was on my knees. And so I'm going back and forth upside down. The mic fell, and nobody could hear a thing I was saying. And it was just, I got down somehow, and my photographer was like, if he could have been on the ground rolling, he would have been, you know, because I wasn't dressed properly. It was just a disaster. And it was then that I promised myself that I would never get on a trapeze on live television. Because the microphone just fell, and here I am just like screaming, we'll be right back. was just like, I'm done. I'm done with this live shot today. But everything else, I told my producers, is like, no, we got to interview everybody on the ground. I'm not getting up on the trapeze. So,
Hey, you're better than I am. I would have been like, no, my butt is staying on the ground.
On the ground. I've never done it since, so that's good for me.
That's a great story. I knew it was going to be a good one. Let's get into the blitz round. These are 5 questions I ask to every single person that comes on the show, and I'm intrigued to see. You might not be able to answer one of them, but we'll find out. Okay. What is your favorite technology tool?
Right now, it's email. I mean, it's really that basic. Really, it's that basic. I mean, that's how I get my clients' pitches. I email everything. Oh, you know what? Can I have 2?
Yeah.
My calendar.
The calendar.
Yeah, my calendar that allows people to book time with me. My husband set it up. I don't know how he did it, and I'm not going to ask since he's my tech guy. But it allows people to book me. It goes onto my calendar, on my personal calendar. I can even send it to my family calendar so my husband knows that I have a meeting. I like it. I like that. But email and my calendar. If I didn't have those 2 things, good for nothing. I'd be good for nothing.
You know what? I definitely can feel you on the email because I use my email for everything. I use it for it's my task list, right? I'll have my unread emails and my tasks are in there. I just live and die by my email and by my calendar. So those are good ones.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite real estate book? I'm putting you on the spot. Do you have a favorite real estate book?
Do I have a favorite real estate book? I don't have a favorite real estate book.
Well, if not, you can stop it for a business book. You got a good business book for us?
Okay, I do. I mean, I wouldn't consider it a business book, but I do like it. And it's people are like, I don't even know if your audience would have read this book, but it's You're a Badass.
You're a Badass.
Yeah.
I've heard of that book.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're a Badass. It's oh gosh, what's her name? Her name is Jen. I'm going to pull it up right now. But I like the book because first off, I would never use that to describe myself. I would never be like, yeah, Gigi, you're a badass. But the fact that somebody else can say it and do it for me, I like that. Yeah, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living Your Life. It was a pretty big bestseller. But so it's not really, I wouldn't call it a business book. I would definitely call it a motivational book for me because, and for my clients too, I really do have to pump them up because I have one client right now. She's like, Gigi, but nobody's going to see me as an expert. And I'm like, you are an expert. You know what you're talking about. I would never say you're a badass girl, but sometimes you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, yes, yeah, I'm bad. And so I needed that at the time that I was launching my business. I needed somebody to say, you're a badass and you know what the heck you're talking about. So yeah, there are several, I think there have been several other spin-off books to it as well. But books come into your life when you need them, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like that. Yeah. Kind of like that the teacher will come when the student is ready. And at the time that I read that book, I needed somebody to say those words to me.
Well, Gigi, you don't know me very well, but my friends and family would tell you that Ian would probably walk around and say, you're a badass, Ian, all the time. I don't care. I just I'm an egotistical maniac, and I've had to calm myself down over the years to get better at what I'm doing.
It's true, right?
You got to own it. You got to own what you are, I guess. Right. So if you were not in the news anchor and now the PR business, what would you be doing with your life?
Okay, so that was the question that I had to ask myself after getting into television. If I were not, okay, so if I were not, because here's the why behind my business. I started my business and I said, you know what, the why is going to be my kids, right? My kids are my why. But then my husband was like, I don't know. I think you need to go deeper. And the reason why he said that was because he was like, Gigi, our kids, you will do anything for them. So, they don't have to, that doesn't have to be your why. And so I went deeper and I was kind of afraid to go to that place. But I said, you know what? the why behind my business, I really want it to be, I kind of get choked up when I'm talking about this, but I want it to be an arm or a place where people who need, food and services and help and who need that kind of support, the basic life-sustaining support around the world. I want to use it to funnel to help that. Like at my church, we have this group. It's called it's women and children. It's widows and children, and it's designed to help women who have lost their husbands or who they've lost their support system, and children who need the support that a parent, particularly a father, can give around the world. I said, I'm going to use this business and I'm going to use my talents and I'm going to fund that to the hilt. And Ian, I'm sorry, you got me crying on the podcast.
That's good. That means you got some good material.
But that's what I would be doing. If television doesn't work, the business doesn't work out, I'm packing it up and I'm going to go and some way or another, I'm going to help those widows and kids. I think that's my life calling,
Fantastic. Why? I was raised by a single mother and she has muscular dystrophy. Wow. And so she's kind of my why. She's, she definitely put everything she had into raising me and my brother, and I just want to make her proud, So you got to have that why, that thing inside you that makes you go, why am I waking up and doing this every day? So it's great that you have that. I mean, the kids are going to be always there. I mean, they're always going to be your why, but you got to have that alternative issue because, at least with my kids, they drive me crazy sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that it wasn't just my kids. It was these other kids, and so that was That's
great. Well, you have a family, you have a new business. Well, let's go outside of that. What is your favorite hobby?
I haven't been able to do it a lot. And as you asked me about books, I haven't been able to do it a lot, but I love to read. When my house is quiet and I'm not dog tired, on those special nights, I'll read for as long as I can, a few hours. I mean, there have been times that I've fallen asleep with the book, but it's been reading. And the other hobby that I really enjoy, I love to sew. Okay. My grandmother taught me how to sew when I was a little girl, and over the course, being in school, I took sewing classes. And when I find the time again, Ian, and I will one day, I'm going to go and open up my sewing. I have two sewing machines somewhere in this house, and I'm going to go pull them out, and I'm going to get some patterns, and I'm going to sew my little heart out. That's
I like it. I do have to say, you're filming this in your home office, and if I was doing the same thing, my kids would have came in 3 or 4 times. There'd be all kinds of random noise, stomping, the whole 9 yards. You don't have any of that. So you have a very calm house over there, and I commend you for that.
Right now, they're just, they're tied up in the back. No, I'm joking. No, they go to preschool a few hours a day. So this is the best time.
Best time. Those are the blocks on the calendar people are allowed to book, right?
Exactly. This is where you book right now with Gigi.
You know what? I'm sure you've probably seen it, but there's a clip online of this guy. He finally got on national television I think it was talking about some sort of stock or something, and he's in his home office, and the door opens, and his toddler comes running in the room on national television. And clearly he must have just put a suit on from the chest up, because he is not getting out of his chair. And he's like, God, what is going on right now? And then next thing you know, his wife comes in and she's pulling the kid out. I watched it like 3 or 4 times. It was great.
I've seen that clip. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Poor
that would
guy.
be my house. No doubt about it, you know.
Right.
And of course, I'd be the one that would just have a top on and not have any, I'd have my underwear on or something. Okay, last question. What is your dream vacation?
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Oh, that's a good question. And that's a good question because I just told my husband, I was like, I have not taken a vacation in so long, at least 2 years. So we're on the West Coast now. And when I got married 6 years ago, at the time of this taping. But we had 2 options. It was either to go to Mexico or to Hawaii. And our travel agent, she was saying, I would go to Mexico because Hawaii is really very far. So there were just all, and we were on the East Coast at that point. It was just all kinds of stuff. So I told my husband, I said, listen, we'll go to Mexico and I'm going to love this honeymoon. I go, but one day we're going to go to Hawaii. And he's in the Navy, and he was actually stationed in Hawaii for a few months. And he's like, you're going to love Hawaii, and one day we're going to go. And so now that we're on the West Coast and we don't have that time issue, that's, I think, what we're gearing up to. Because, I don't know all of the names of the islands. I've only know, the Oahu and certain names of the islands, but I would really love to go and explore Hawaii. And now that we're on the West Coast, it looks like I may be closer to that than I was before on the East Coast.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I actually have a friend who lived in Hawaii for a while, and some of just the off-the-wall things he's told me about Hawaii are unbelievable. Milk's like $7 per gallon, and
yeah.
It's on a volcano. I never knew that until I met him. But anyways, I think that about wraps us up. But I do want you to tell us, how do people get in touch with you? And I have to tell you, you have a big no-no in my world. I tried to friend you on Facebook, and you do not allow friend requests.
I don't.
Yeah. How am I supposed to be your friend?
Okay, so here's the thing. So the Facebook, there's a reason.
Here's the thing. I like you, but I don't like you that much.
Oh no. Okay, so I have 3 different Facebook pages. The one that you probably try to friend me on is my personal one. And years ago, I made
friend somebody on. It's the personal one.
Well, so here's the thing. So now I'm going to go and accept it because
I couldn't even send one.
You couldn't?
No, it wouldn't even let me send it.
Oh no. Okay. So here's the thing. There's a reason. See, what had happened was, so when you're on television, right? When you're in the news, years ago, when I started that Facebook page, I said to myself, this is only going to be, it's going to be my personal page. It's for people that I know, that I have a personal connection to, because when you're on TV, you just get people friending you, right? And like, I don't really know you. You know me, but I don't know you. People walk up to you in the grocery store, they recognize you, and they want to chat out, and I'm fine. I'm fine with that. But just personally, like having that into me, you have to, being a television person, you have to kind of have some type of, I'll
let you slide. You're a celebrity. Yes. I'm nowhere near that.
So now we know each other. I've talked to you. Go ahead and I will friend you.
Yeah, you're going to friend me because I can't friend you. I did like your business page. I sent you an invite on LinkedIn. But tell us what's your handles. How do we get in touch with you?
So it's all Story Sell Your Brand. So if you go to the Facebook Story Sell Your Brand, that you'll find all of our content. You'll find out, how to start working on those story ideas, the best pitches that you could craft. You'll find out how if you're going to fly or flop an interview, a live interview. And then I'm on Story Sell Your Brand on Instagram too. But listen, to get in contact with me and to start putting your publicity plan together and to start working with me, head to storysellyourbrand.com. storysellyourbrand.com. And there's a video. After this podcast, you might not need that video because I'm telling you everything that's on it. But you can find the Work With Me page right at the top of the prompt. It'll walk you through everything, how to get on my calendar. That calendar is important to me because if you're not on that calendar, I can't talk to you. But storysellyourbrand.com. And I'm telling you, for realtors, for people who are selling homes and buying homes for your clients, local news is the way to go. You should dominate in that area, and I can definitely show you how.
Well, I am going to be going onto your website and scheduling my 30-minute consultation because clearly I get crickets. So with that being said, thank you so much for coming on. I think we're pretty close to breaking the record of the longest podcast I've had, but the content was fantastic, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to educate us.
Thank you, Ian. I'm going to friend you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Gigi.
Okay.
Well, folks, that was the episode. It was a long one, but some great content there. So if you need any help with PR, definitely go check out Gigi's pages and reach out to her. She knows her stuff, 22 years in the business. That was great. I hope you learned as much as I did. And for Ian Hoover and the Deacon Hoover Radio Network, we are signing off.